How about that? Is that better? Also like to extend a welcome to those who have joined us virtually, both members of the commission who are with us and also members of the public and media who may be present as well. So we have an ambitious agenda. So I think we're going to get started. Representative Tusher will join us. Is he virtually? He's joined us virtually. So we really want to extend a warm welcome to Mike Ambre, who is our newest member of the commission. Governor Cox has appointed him this week. He is also the new Director of Divisions of Facilities Construction and Management for our state, effectively replacing Jim Russell. So some of you may recall that Jim was also a former member of this commission. Mike fills that position. So Mike, welcome. Really nice to have you here and look forward to having your contribution. Mike, would you mind taking a few minutes for other members of the commission and the public? Make sure your mic is on and maybe introduce yourself. Is your mic on there?
Now it is, yeah.
Okay.
My name Michael Ambre. I've worked for the division for 24 years. I've ran some pretty significant projects, including the relocation of the Draper Prison and also managed this new North Capitol building. And so I was deputy before I got appointed the director position. So thank you. I'm very familiar with this project. I've been working on it for over 2 years. So I've been working with Alan, so I feel like it's a good fit.
Thank you, Mike. And we know that you have been heavily involved in the operations of the point, and we appreciate that help as well. We've also received notice in the last week that Senator Stevenson, Representative Stenquist, April Cooper, and myself have also been reappointed to serve another term and their positions on the board. So Senator Stevenson, you're here. We're grateful that you continue to serve us. Also Representative Stenquist and April, assuming they're joined virtually, want you to know that we appreciate their continued service. And we congratulate you. As a notice to those watching our meeting, we're going to follow a somewhat different order in our agenda to accommodate the schedule of some of our presenters. So following some preliminary business and subject to board approval, we're going to go into executive session. While it is difficult to know how long we will be in that session, we estimate we will return to open session between 10 and 10:15 a.m. And then we will complete the balance of our agenda. So the next item before we undertake considering going into executive session is to accept and receive public comment. As we say in each of our meetings, we remind everyone this is a public project, and as a board, we feel and have a responsibility to ensure that this project reflects the public views and also provides the public opportunity to have input. And we value that input from members of the public. In fact, over 16,000 Utah residents have already shared their priorities and ideas and their feedback for this project. We welcome public comments pursuant to and conditioned on the procedures outlined in the agenda. Let's start with those. Anyone here present in the meeting that would like to take a moment and make any public comment? If you'd raise your hand. Yes, sir, on the front. Why don't you come forward and you can get us started. We will also open it up for comments virtually as well. So, sir, if you'd go ahead and take a seat there. And I've turned on your mic. If you'd state your name. Remind me, Alan, how long we give for comment? 3 minutes. So you're welcome to take 3 minutes and give us your statement. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is James Brown. I am a producer of a national television show called Living and Aging with Pride. I find myself sitting here looking at this statue of responsibility. And I think this is the time in America that we need to fix our minds on how do we make it better. And I think Utah poses an interesting position by having this statue present so we can remind people of the responsibility of democracy and what we need to do. Utah can become a leader in really reshaping the minds and the thoughts of our people. Plus, we can recognize that as we get older, and we all will get older, we can recognize that we can pass that on to our children and their children. The responsibility is important to reshape America and show Americans that responsibility is an honest and quality thing. So I'm pleased to be here to support the fact that we are going to take a stance and say to the rest of the country that responsibility is important, and you can see that responsibility by supporting the Statue of Responsibility. So I commend you, gentlemen and ladies, for inviting this vigorous attempt to make America better, and I think we're on the right track. And I commend you, and I commend the artists that developed this whole concept. It's a wonderful thing, and I thank you for having the privilege to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Anyone else that would like to take a few minutes? The gentleman here with the white shirt and the nice tie, would you come forward? Welcome to our meeting.
Thank you.
If you'd like to have a seat and state your name, and then you can give us your comments.
Hi, I'm Lennon Beeston. I'm 14 years old and I'm here to speak in favor of the Statue of Responsibility.
Thanks, Ethan. What's your last name?
My last name is Landon Beeston.
Excuse me?
My last name is Beeston.
Okay, Beeson. Well, give us your statement or your comments, Ethan. We're glad to have you here.
Thanks. When I see the Statue of Responsibility in my mind, when I picture the grandeur of a colossal monument stretching across our nation, I don't just see a work of art, a masterpiece. Instead, I see two hands, grasping from the future and from the past, and conjoining in the present. From the past, I see white crosses standing over the nameless graves where our ancestors lie on the fields of France. I see the inscription over Arlington National Cemetery, which reads, Dulce et decorum est pro patria mori. It is sweet and fitting to die for your country. I see 37-year-old Viktor Frankl fighting to survive as he was shuttled from 3 different concentration camps in Nazi Germany and saw firsthand the problems of an out-of-control government with no respect for responsibility. From the future, I see a memorial shining above the commotion and problems of America, a reminder just as influential as the Statue of Liberty, prompting the nation below to remember that we are only as free as long as we recall the responsibility of a free land to its people and to the world. I see the future generations 100 years after our actions today, growing up learning about the men and women of this generation who had the courage to speak up in defense of liberty and responsibility. Today, I see you. I see a people who have the power to cultivate change and stand for what they know is right. No matter the backgrounds of each person here, every one of us has the duty and sacred responsibility to join the past and the future, united as Americans. In conclusion, I stand with one of our most beloved and wise presidents, John F. Kennedy, when he said, "Let us not seek the Republican answer or the Democratic answer, but the right answer. Let us not seek to fix the blame for the past, but let us accept our own responsibility for the future." Thank you.
Thank you, Ethan. Well done. Ethan, how old are you?
I'm 14 years old.
Well done. Anyone else here assembled that would like to make a comment? Please come forward. Welcome to our meeting. If you'd like to state your name, and you can provide us your comments.
Yes, my name is Sue Brenchley, and no one should have to follow him. However, I am so passionate about this project, and I didn't think I was going to get emotional. And then he starts talking, and I'm like, I'm going to cry. Viktor Frankl wrote Man's Search for Meaning 10 years before I was born. That book and his experience changed my life when I was 25. And when I found out about this project 10 years ago, it was already in my soul because of his book and his experience. When we found out that this could be in Utah, it changed everything. I flew back from Chicago last night talking about this very project with people in Chicago. This project will bring Utah to a light that I don't think we even know is possible because of the mission and the movement behind this project. This is about people. This is about people who are suffering as much today as they were suffering in the middle of what we look at as history. We have people that are going through a different kind of torture and a different kind of experience, but nonetheless, it will be part of history as well. And this monument is going to bring people together. This monument is going to be talked about around the world. Utah is going to become a focal point. And we are the most responsible people. As I travel the world and I meet with people, there are such good human beings everywhere, but there is so much that they could learn from us and who we are and how we represent values. The ability to have this experience for people to come into, I mean, we've got it before the Olympics, but I am telling you, it's going to bring people to this part of our world. It's going to put us in the spotlight, and it is going to change lives around the world like we have never known before. So I'm here to support this in such a passionate way, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else here in the room that is here to make a comment? Let me go online. Do we have any requests online? No? All right. Well, for those who made comments, we appreciate your input. It's helpful for us as we do our job to receive input and direction from the citizens, and so thank you again. We will move on to item number 3 of the agenda. It is to consider the minutes of our April 13th board meeting. Chair would consider a motion to approve or entertain a motion to approve the April 16th, 2024 board minutes.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the board minutes. Mayor Walker.
Mayor Walker, thank you for that. And Mayor Wilson will second that motion. All in favor of that motion to approve the minutes of April 16th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Any opposed, say nay. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. So as I mentioned in the opening, next item on the agenda is to consider a motion to go into executive session. That's pursuant to Utah law that allows us to discuss a project proposal and also financing proposal related to the development of the land, of this land owned by the state. Utah Code 524205-1D permits the board to go into closed session only for the purpose outlined in the statute. Topics to be addressed in agenda item 4, which is a project proposal and a financing proposal related to the development of land owned by the state, are approved for discussion in an executive session for purposes of protecting the negotiating interests of the state. And so as chair, it was my recommendation we go into closed session now for those items. I would entertain a motion accordingly to go into closed session to discuss the matter set forth in item 4. Senator Stevenson?
A motion for the appoint board to move into closed session.
Motion is for us to move into closed session pursuant to the items that I mentioned. Do I have a second? second by Representative Tusher. I'll place that motion for a vote. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries with the requisite majority. So with that, we will move into closed session. Excuse me? We have to take a roll call. I could,
although I don't think you need it if it's.
I thought it was unanimous, JC, but do we still need to? Okay. Notwithstanding the fact that the chair sees that this is a unanimous vote, apparently the law requires us to take a roll call vote. So we will start with that. Alan, if you're ready, I'll turn on the mic and you can take that roll call.
Great. Representative Tusher,
Yes.
Lowry Snow,
Yes?
Senator Stevenson,
Yes.
Mayor Wilson, Commissioner Landward. Yes. Director Ambrey, Representative Stenquist,
Aye.
April Cooper,
Yes.
Mayor Ramsey,
Yes.
Senator Fillmore,
Aye.
Director Starks,
Yes.
and Mayor Walker.
Yes.
Thank you. It's unanimous.
And that is unanimous with no members voting nay. So with that, as I mentioned, we'll move now into executive session. And for members of the public and those assembled here, we anticipate somewhere between 10:15 to 10:30, we will come back into open meeting. Thank you. All right, folks, let's reconvene and continue our meeting in open session. Thanks for being patient. There was important discussions that went on, a lot of time taken with public finance issues, and obviously went longer than anticipated. So again, thanks for being patient, and we apologize for that additional time. So without further introduction, or I shouldn't say without further introduction, introducing now the next item on the agenda is the Statute of Responsibility Foundation. And Lisa, we'll have you come forward, and you can introduce and help conduct this part of your presentation. Just as way of background, some of you, well, all of the board will remember in November, the Statute of Responsibility Foundation applied to locate the Statute of Responsibility at the point. We are grateful for their vision and interest. After reviewing the application, the Land Authority, this board outlined additional information it would like from the foundation. Representatives of the foundation will share some of that information today. The authority does not intend, won't take any action on the application in this meeting. And with that, Lisa, we'll turn the time to you and with the good folks you're with, and allow you to go forward. I probably don't need to say this, but we'll ask you to help be mindful of the time. And we appreciate you doing that and being here today. Thank you. Let me get your mic on, Lisa. There you go.
Thank you. And we are honored to be here today, and we appreciate your time, and we will be respectful of your time as well. So we are going to start off with our CEO, Steve Cohen, who is here with us today from San Diego, and then we will go from there, and we'll jump right into it. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
Thanks. Hello, everyone, and thank you for giving us an opportunity to give you a progress report. That's really why we're all here today, to just sort of update you. So we did take to heart some of the issues that you still had outstanding, and we created a fairly lengthy document that we sent along to Mr. Matheson, who has that digitally, and that's available for all of you to review. We went point by point through a variety of concerns, not only construction and specifics, but also fundraising, and also the nature of the statute in terms of commerce, the type of money it would make, and how it would serve as an attraction to bring what we think would be millions of dollars to Utah and the region. So look at that document, and as you have any questions about it, we're always willing to answer any questions you would have. We've made a lot of progress since November, and that's what we're going to do in the next few minutes that we have with you. One of the things we did do is we went to the site, we sent up a drone to take a look at what the perspective of it would be like from the statue. And let's run a quick video of a minute so you can all get a look at that on your screens in front of you.
The bookend of the Statue of Liberty on the East Coast, the Statue of Responsibility ordered 5 feet, the same as Liberty on her pedestal. This is the drone view and perspective from that height at the point of the mountain in Draper. Visible no matter the direction of travel, visitors and passersby will be awed by the statue and its eternal message of continued responsibility to all of humankind. Responsibility and liberty equals freedom.
That drone was put up right over the 6.3 acres that we're asking for you to give us so that we would be able to construct a statue there. It's quite a special spot, as you can see from that video. One of the other things I think that I want to address just quickly, we know that any artistic endeavor like this or any monument of any size is going to create controversy. And we know that the statue has already created some controversy in the community here in Utah. There are always people that have views of what it is, what it represents, what does it look like. And this is going across the political spectrum. And I just want to underline for all of you again that the derivation of the design of this statue came from the mind of Gary himself, our wonderful sculptor here in Utah, after he spoke to Mrs. Frankel, the widow of Victor, And he put together these hands reaching out to each other based on reference points that he had had in his own sculptural history. So it comes from no other place but the mind of the artist. And we think, of course, over the last 15 years of developing it, that it really does signify what the Statue of Responsibility is about. So anyone who is coming to you or talking about any other sort of iteration of the design of this, they're just foolhardy and not aware of it. And it's important to know that. Depending on what side of the political spectrum you are, you can come up with a story about just about anything that's created artistically. And as we know, the bigger the monument, the bigger the dream, the more controversy will come to it. We also, since November, have picked up a lot of support and letters of recommendation about the statue, and Lisa will be bringing that to you. We also have brought along representatives of our architectural firm, FFKR, very well-known firm here in Utah, and their cohort, someone that you all know here at the Capitol, Oakland, which has been digging up the Capitol here for a long time and coming to completion. And Oakland is going to be our partner in construction. Val is going to come forward and talk to you about the work we've done on the Hill. And we've talked to members of the legislature, we've talked to elected officials, from mayors all the way to the speaker, so that we can begin to create a foundation for support across all elected avenues and all of their constituencies. And finally, Lisa and I will join you again for some Q&A on funding mechanism, and we think we can get this all done in the next 10 to 12 minutes. So thank you for your patience. Lisa?
Again, I'm Lisa Clark Price, and I'm excited to give you a little update about where we are. We have the opportunity to do something that will outlive all of us, something that is important, something that our great-grandchildren will talk about and remember as the time when we created something that brought light and hope into a very challenged world, something that actually shows the comments from our very own governor, Governor Spencer Cox, as he stood on the grounds at the final demolition of the Utah State Prison as it was completed just last August, wherein he stated that he could envision a day when there would stand something significant on that land, something iconic, something like the Seattle Space Needle or the Eiffel Tower, perhaps even something with meaning. We are here because we have an answer to what Governor Cox was looking for. We have something that is important. We have something that is significant and something that is iconic, and most definitely something that has meaning. The Statue of Responsibility can check the boxes for all of these hopes, and it can do more. It can bring long-term sustained revenue into the state of Utah, add jobs, create national and global awareness and tourism, bringing opportunities for growth in every sector, not just for a season, for centuries, just like the Statue of Liberty. We have many videos and letters of intent and commitment that are included now and being added upon regularly to the online packet that was submitted a few weeks ago. Today, we have asked two of our significant partners to just take a moment to express why they said yes to the Statue of Responsibility. First is Jay Turan, representing FFKR Architectural Firm, one of the most respected and successful firms here in Utah. Jade?
Hi, I'm Jade Turan, and I'm here representing my firm, FFKR Architects. We are Utah's largest architectural firm. I am here today with my principal in charge, Abe Nielsen. He's the really tall guy behind me, and our associate architect, Jacob Clark. So we are so deeply honored that the Statue of Responsibility chose our firm to help support this vision. FFKR has a very, very long history of iconic structures in this state. In the late 1970s, four partners got together for their inaugural project, which is now known as Abravanel Hall. I have architects working on the Salt Lake Temple renovation. We are one of two firms that made the Hyatt Regency Hotel a reality here in Salt Lake City. Among the Delta Center and my personal favorite, we designed the world's most famous high school here in Utah, East High School, which is my high school, class of 1999. So I tell FFKR, I turned out so great because you designed my high school. So I think we are more than qualified and deeply emotionally invested in this project and helping this project become a reality for Utah. People from all over the world will really see Utah in a different light with this structure and the message behind it. I believe Utahns and Americans will be able to cherish for generations. So I want to thank Lisa and Gary for inviting us to be part of this vision and helping it become a reality for Utah. Thank you so much.
Second, I'm going to invite Jeremy Blank with Oakland Construction, a fifth-generation construction company who just happened, as Steve mentioned, to be busy outside with construction here on this very property. Jeremy.
How are you? Jeremy Blank with Oakland Construction. Great to be here today. Wanted to just voice our support for the Statue of Responsibility. We're a contracting firm that's been fortunate to be in Utah over 100 years and see this state grow, and appreciate the great leadership that we've had from the state and the forethought that we've had. We are fortunate enough to be out building the North Capitol Complex and what's going on around here, but also have done a lot of projects in downtown Salt Lake and all along the Wasatch Front. And we appreciate the opportunity to be involved in this project and offer our support and for something meaningful and different that would change our communities and be something that could maybe provide some focus and motivation to people that would come to Utah and people that would also live here and change our culture a little bit. And we appreciate that. And thanks for the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you.
Next, we have a video to share, one of our great supporters, and I believe it will be a familiar face to everyone in Utah.
I've known Lisa and Gary Price, and that's been over 10 years now. I know to see the Statue of Responsibility erected in this city to represent us all in this state. I have been in Utah now for over 30 years. And one thing I've learned is that we are best known to the outside world for our volunteerism, our dedication to community, to family. So that's why I'm on board. I would love to see this project come to fruition right here in our city, right here in our state. So I hope you can join me. Hope you can join Gary and Lisa Price in making this dream come to fruition. I'm Thurl Big T Bailey, and I have a responsibility to take what I have, what I know, what I've learned, and share it, to reach down and not just pick up my teammates, but pick up those who are in need. That is what the Statue of Responsibility stands for, us helping each other. Let's show the world why we all have a responsibility to be there for each other and lend a hand.
So Big T's behind the project, and that's a big one for me because he's one of my favorites. We had Mayor Mike Mendenhall from Spanish Fork with us here all morning, but I believe he had to leave just right before we reconvened. But I will speak for him briefly and say that he speaks monthly at our Pour and Tour events that we hold at Gary's Foundry in Utah County as a big supporter of the Statue of Responsibility. I was going to share that with you today. And I was going to point out that we have South Utah County and we have North Utah County represented. And today we also have a video from Mayor Mark Shepard in Centerville, who's in Las Vegas right now in meetings, but wanted to be here and said, I'm sending a video.
Hey everyone, this is Mark Shepard, Mayor of Clearfield City, Utah, and I want you to understand responsibility and this project being at the point of the mountain. When Viktor Frankl said in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, that we should have a statue on the West Coast for responsibility, because you can't have freedom and liberty without responsibility. I think we as Utahns deliver that message better than anybody else in this world. We know how to lift, how to take care of others, and to help them in their need. Please give this Statue of Responsibility project the support that it deserves. Thank you so much.
We have also recently obtained the support of the Salt Lake Chamber of Commerce, the Utah Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, as well as a commitment from the 2025-2026 governor of the Utah Rotary Club, who is committed to using the Statue of Responsibility as her platform for her tenure as governor. Several Utah cities have also contacted us asking how they can get a smaller version of the Statue of Responsibility in their cities. Even cities outside of Utah are reaching out to us. Omaha, Nebraska was first, followed by Dallas, Texas. We also have the support of many MLMs that have already signed on with letters of commitment, choosing the Statue of Responsibility as their charity of choice. We are excited to move from phase 2 into phase 3 so we can get fundraising. Once the Statue of Responsibility has a home, it becomes real. Once it is real, we can really gain traction, not just in Utah, but nationally and globally. What will this project cost? The estimated cost for the completed project is $350 million. What is the timeline? Full completion is 2030, so as to be completed by and fully running by the 2034 Olympics. Now back to the cost. We have decided to break it into phases. Phase 1 will be the construction of the 305-foot statue itself, along with the supporting museum, gift shops, sculpture garden, outdoor amphitheater area, and the 6.33-acre grounds in general. This phase is expected to cost approximately $195 million. Phase 2 will add the conference center, the IMAX theater experience, as well as the nonprofit and educational experiences. Remember, it is more than a monument, it's a movement. Now let's talk real quickly about America's 250th celebration, which is coming up on July 4th, 2026. The Statue of Responsibility has the opportunity to be Utah's contribution to this incredible opportunity to celebrate our country's history. We have an opportunity to place a 20-foot Statue of Responsibility at the Salt Lake Airport with informational kiosks, and it looks like we have the support to make this happen as well. St. George has also reached out to us, asking us to let them have a 20-foot Statue of Responsibility so we can now bookend our state. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to bring a Statue of Responsibility, the equivalent of the Statue of Liberty, to the state of Utah, to our country, and to the world. I will close with a couple of quotes that I think are so significant to exactly what we stand for and what this is about. By Ralph Waldo Emerson, "Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail." Maya Angelou, "If you're going to live, leave behind a legacy. Make an impact on the world that can never be erased." William James, "The greatest purpose in life is to live it for something that will last longer than you." And last, Mahatma Gandhi, "You must be the change you wish to see in the world." May we be brave enough and bold enough to do something that has not been done, something that needs to be done. And may we be bold enough to be the ones who stood for liberty by standing by responsibility. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Lisa, and everyone who has participated. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were finished. I don't want to leave Val out either, so.
I'll be
I
very
apologize,
brief.
Val.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be very brief. I was a charter member of this board, I think you'll remember. And the very first meeting, I remember we discussed two things that we really wanted here at the point. One was some type of an educational presence, an innovation presence. And I understand you're moving ahead Representative Moss, I think Convergence Hall is something you've been looking at, and that certainly fits that bill. The second was some type of an iconic structure that would set apart this area and really put it on the map as well as the state. And I think the Statue of Responsibility fits that extremely well. I think that both those projects are right in line with what we talked about from day one. Now, I would just like to mention, we met last week with President Adams and Senator Stevenson. We met with Speaker Schultz, along with Representative Tusher and Representative Steinquist, to talk about the project, answer questions. It was a good meeting. I think it helped inform them about the process. And I've been meeting with many of you to answer any questions and talk a little bit more. I would like to just read, in 2010, the House and the Senate passed unanimously HCR 16, concurrent resolution about the Statue of Responsibility. And I just wanted to read what it says here in the bill. This resolution expresses support for the creation of the Statue of Responsibility Monument, which will firmly and boldly declare to our nation and to the world the sublime message that with great liberty comes great responsibility, recognizes the state of Utah's claim to the honorable moniker as the birthplace of the Statue of Responsibility, and encourages concerned Utahns to assist in the building of what has been called the most compelling monument project to freedom of the 21st century. That was the wording in the bill, unanimously passed in the House and the Senate, and to standing ovations in both bodies when it was voted upon. So we have an opportunity here to see this come to fruition. We have an opportunity to do something epic. And as we all know, epic projects have one thing in common, and that is courageous leadership behind them. People who have vision, who are willing to move forward, who are willing to consider criticism, but in many cases move past that. And so thank you so much for your time with this and your interest, and we hope to see you again soon to talk more about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Val. Lisa, does that conclude? Yep. Okay. Then let me say again, thank you, all of you, for being here. When I say all of you, all of the board members, your architect, construction folks, and for your presentation. We, as you know, this isn't on the agenda for action, but I think it is the interest of the board that you continue your dialogue with our director, Alan, and he's prepared to do that, and see where we go from here, exchange information. And I think you're going to be back on the agenda for a future meeting. And I can't tell you exactly what date, but I think that's our intention. So thank you again for being here and for your presentation. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. Okay, we're going to hold item 6 on the agenda. We're going, in the interest of time, we're going to come back to that for another meeting, not in this meeting today. So we'll move on to item number 7, which is to review state housing policy as it applies to the point. My friend Steve Waldrop, are you here? Former Representative Waldrop, a man who I enjoyed serving with in the House and think a great deal of. As background, Steve will discuss housing issues and strategy in Utah and as it relates to the point. We all know that Utah has a housing challenge, and the state is working on many fronts to help address that issue. As a state entity working to advance state interests, the Land Authority wants to understand and be aligned with policy. Steve is at the forefront of the state housing effort, the governor's senior advisor on housing strategy and innovation. We welcome you, Steve, to this meeting and hope that you can provide additional information and maybe answer some questions the board may have. So with that, we'll turn the time to you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here and to see so many people who are able to do good things. And as I want to call you Representative Snow, I'll just call you my mentor. Former Representative Snow, I followed him judiciously in my first years in the legislature, and it was one of the great privileges of my life to be able to work with you.
Thank you.
So you've correctly identified that we have an issue in Utah. It's not just a Utah issue, it's a nationwide issue. We have a deficit of millions of homes in the nation. Utah's deficit is roughly 40,000 some odd units, meaning we have 40,000 more households than we have places for households to live. Typically, I'll ask in these settings, who has a son, daughter, grandson, granddaughter, niece, nephew, or somebody who is living in somebody's basement that doesn't want to be there. And it's usually about a 60% response now. And it's becoming a significant problem. Roughly 90% of our state who are not homeowners can't become homeowners right now. Just don't have the financial capability because the markets are kind of misaligned to what we have a need for. And that comes back to, very simple law of supply and demand. We have a low supply. In 2021, Utah, we had 37,000 housing starts roughly. In 2022, we had about 30,000 housing starts. 2023, we had about 19,000 housing starts. And 2024, we're looking in the mid-teens in our housing starts. Now, our break-even point is 28,000. We need 28,000 new units every year just to accommodate both our internal growth and our in-migration. And Utah's great. We live in a wonderful place. People are discovering it more and more, and that presents opportunities and challenges. It used to be we had no work and lots of people. Now we have lots of work and not enough people and not enough places for those people to live. There's a number of industries and locations where we have open jobs, and we don't have places for people to come live and work there. Our universities right now in Southern Utah, Representative or Lowry, Chair, are you co-chair? What am I calling you today?
Co-chair with.
Co-chair, all right,
Tucker.
Co-chair Snow. They hire about 4 people before they find one. They hire, not interview, hire 4 people before they find one who can make it work. And that's a really good example of what we're dealing with in our state. So as the governor's housing policy advisor, we've undertaken a few things to provide very specific, actionable things that we can do in our state to change that balance. One thing that we're focusing on is the creation of ownership opportunities. The median homeowner in the United States has a net worth of about $396,200. The median renter in the United States has a net worth of about $10,400. So that's a 40x spread between a homeowner and a renter. And if you think back to kind of the post-1950s, what did we do when we had the GIs coming home from World War II? We got them an education, and we got them a place to live. We created housing that was appropriate for their budgets, and we created financial products that would allow them to move into those homes. And we created this massive wave of wealth that we are currently riding. But that wave is getting ready to crest and crash, and we don't have this second wave behind it. And if we don't address that now, 30, 40, 50 years from now, when we have a generation that has not had the ability to build wealth in the same way, I am really, really glad that I should be at least 1 foot in the grave, if not both, because it will not be pretty. We will have a situation where our middle class has shrunk to a point where we no longer are what we purport to be. And that American dream is the foundational piece of that is home ownership and property ownership. And that's really what sets us apart from a lot of the rest of the world. So that's the backdrop to what I'm going to ask you guys to do. We have to create home ownership opportunities, and it's challenging. The way that we've done it to this point is we have looked at our opportunities and said, okay, let's create some incentives for cities and municipalities and land use authorities to create smaller lots. And some of them have already done that, but then the development activity is always to build bigger on smaller. Because if you're a builder or developer and you can create thing A and sell it for $800,000 and make $200,000, or thing B and sell it for $400,000 and make $50,000, you would be stupid to build thing B. You would always build thing A, and that's what we've been doing. So we have to find a way to incentivize the creation of thing B. And the way really that we've come up with that, and working with developer partners, working with our financial institutions, is to incentivize that activity by creating lower interest loans and higher density. And by giving the higher density to the developers, that allows them to make up some of the gap that they would otherwise be making in margin with volume. So we're giving them volume in exchange for margin, and we're also requiring them to deed restrict the homes that they're creating. So they have to be owner occupied for a minimum of 5 years. Some communities want to do 50 or 100 years, and to me, that's totally fine. Owner occupancy is not a massive restriction on marketability of a product. Particularly in our state where we're looking at, you look at the next 30 years, our population growth is not slowing down. We're going to continue to grow. So we won't have sort of a cliff to fall off with owner occupancy. And so that's kind of the balance of tools that we've used as a state. We'd like to engage in that discussion with your planning to see if we can create condominium opportunities, particularly in with what you're doing. Condominiums are a little challenging right now financially. We're creating tools around that. One of the other ideas that I'd like to just maybe throw out there is something that Mill Creek City has done, where they have approved the creation of apartments, but required a portion of those apartments to convert to individual condominium ownership in a 10-year time frame or 15-year time frame. Right now, the tax structure favors greatly the creation of apartments. When you build an apartment building, you can hold it for a little bit. It goes from an ordinary income asset to a capital gains asset that is also eligible for what's called 1031 exchange opportunity. And you can defer the taxes you pay on that building into perpetuity, frankly. You can trade your gains from the sale of that apartment building into another project that you then build. You trade the gains from that into another project that you build, and you can essentially forego paying taxes on those transactions for a very, very long time. With condominium creation, you're paying ordinary income taxes, which in most of these instances is going to be in the 39% range. And so we've created this disincentive for condominium creations. And so part of the challenge is sort of recognizing that tax structure and saying, okay, let's get the initial transaction done as an apartment building, and then let's allow that value to sort of be captured and go away. But then let's create a downstream opportunity for ownership with conversion to condominiums. So that's a creative way to think about that. There's some building code challenges with that structure. We have 2 different building codes for apartments and condos. It really doesn't make any sense to me why we care more about condo owners than apartment owners. I think, we just figure apartment owners are dispensable somehow because we don't give them the same firewall ratings and things. So we're going to make an effort in legislation to unify those 2 sections of code so that it's not such a dramatic shift to go from one to the other. But then also the upfront creation of condominiums can be incentivized and structured with additional density, with other incentives. We're working on financing incentives from the state standpoint. Those are some of the tools that we want to provide to you in your discussions so that as you're negotiating with the market, you can provide sufficient balance to the need versus the economic realities of what you're dealing with. We don't want to ignore reality. You know, they try that in other states. There's one to our west that tries to ignore economic realities, and they constantly hit their head on the reality of what the markets will and will not do. And the cost of that ends up somewhere. And so we want to recognize that cost in that initial transaction. And so, for instance, we've required 60% of the things that developers build in this structure to be owner occupied and deed restricted and sold for a target price. And because it's 60%, not 10%, all of a sudden that 60% has to be built to actually be that cost. Meaning we can't build 2,800 square foot homes. We need to build 1,100 square foot homes. We need to build 800 square foot apartments and 1,100 square foot condominiums or townhomes. The 2 and 3 bedroom, 1 and 2 bath. I mean, we just have to get back to that. That's the only way we can provide affordability into the marketplace that allows people who are starting out to get into the game. If you talk to anybody that's bought a house within about 3 to 4 years ago backwards, they're so happy now because they got in. And everybody after them is now locked out. And that inequality of opportunity is really, and I say this not lightly, when we look at the moral structure of who we are and what we believe deeply in our families. We believe deeply in equality of opportunity. We believe deeply in creating something that is more than what we inherited. And we're failing at that right now. And it's not all of our faults. It's it's the system. So this is no longer to me a policy issue or a political issue. This really has become a moral issue that we have to confront with that mentality. We have to confront it with the mentality that we are tackling a moral dilemma in creating something that our children and grandchildren can then prosper long term. If we don't, and we don't give them that opportunity, we're failing, frankly. We are failing in our job as public servants. We're failing in our jobs as stewards of this state and our economy. We have to do better than we're doing, and we're in a challenging set of circumstances. But that's kind of my message. I just got off the phone with the Washington County mayors. I think we had about 50 people on that call, and there's a lot of chirping about. Co-Chair Snow knows about this. Oh, the state's making us do this, and they're so terrible, and I just said, hey, we need to work together. What solutions do you guys see? Here's some tools. And it changes the conversation because it's no longer pushing it down on them. It's inviting them to the table and saying, let's come up with solutions that work for your individual circumstance. We have Sitla land. We have all kinds of things. We have this land at the Point, which is a state asset that we need to be very judicious in making sure that the end result that we get out meets our values. And it's not just about, can we maximize wealth? That's part of the problem we're dealing with Sitla right now. We have a lot of property and a lot of places that is being turned into recreational and rental and overnight rentals because that's the highest dollar value that you can get out of that. That is without question the highest dollar value, but it does not necessarily meet our values. And so can we take a little lower return, recognizing that people have to make money or they're not going to do things? But can we encourage and structure so that we can create that opportunity in a reasonable fashion? And I think we can. I think there's room, and particularly with the brains you got up here, there's room to do that. So that's my lecture for the day. I'll get down off of my soapbox unless you invite me to stand back up on it. But I am I'm bringing mom guilt to the state. I've used other terms. I've been told not to use some other terms that aren't quite as, they're more colorful, but they're not as acceptable. But I'll just use mom guilt. I'm bringing mom guilt to the table here. So, Chair, with that, I'll open to questions.
Thank you, Steve. Good presentation, but also expands our vision. You've helped us expand our vision of what what we're about at the point and beyond statewide. So we appreciate that. Any questions from board members that are here? Let me, yes, Senator.
You know, we've mentioned that when Steve left the legislature to become Mr. Housing Utah, housing guru, he left another occupation there. I will not mention that, but I think that made him happy and helped him on his road to recovery. So,
Well, he looks extremely happy and well rested, and
well, he does a great job. I had an opportunity to work hand in hand with him on some House Senate issues, and a tremendous individual. Certainly got the right guy in the right place for this, and anything we can do, Steve, look for a continued relationship with what you're doing now. So thank you.
so as I understand it, Steve and Alan, our staff has had contact with you. There's been an exchange and an understanding, and I hope that's the case, or I understand that's the case, and we look forward to that. And by the way, I'm just one voice, but I do get what you say when you remind us this is a state-owned project, and the state has its values and its priorities, and you're reminding us that we need to keep those in mind as this property is developed. So thank you very much for your presentation and for being here today and for the kind things you said.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I would love to just come and learn more and see how we can support you in your mission and kind of hopefully integrate some of the legislative solutions to make sure that they fit what you guys are doing out there, because you have a unique situation.
You're welcome anytime.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, we are going to go forward with this. All right. The last item on the agenda, item 8, business item, is to review our 2025, 4-year 2025 Land Authority budget. Our Deputy Director of Operations, Don Willie, is, I think, joined us virtually. With Don, Don, we'll just turn the time over to you. We won't say any more with an introduction, but have you walk us through those changes.
Great. Thanks, Chair Snow. I apologize. I'm not there in person. I'm down representing our team at ICSC with our development partners, and we're having a lot of success, a lot of great conversations. So I won't give a report on that, but do just want to let you know that we are having great conversations down here as a team, and looking forward to follow up on those as well. In terms of the FY25 year budget, the Finance Committee had a chance to look over this and provide input. This is just for information at this point. We do anticipate a vote for approval in our June board meeting, but wanted to make sure the board had ample time to review this and provide input in addition to that we've received from the Finance Committee. So as you can see here, let me just go high level to the bottom first as a starter. We're looking at a significant savings in looking into FY25 from a budget standpoint, with a reduction of just under $400,000 in the overall operating budget. We've been able to do that as we've looked through and seen areas where we can provide additional efficiencies and ensure that it does not compromise our operational capacity. We've been able to make some of those adjustments. And so let me run through just briefly on this. And of course, with each of you having this in front of you, feel free to ask any questions along the way. First, we anticipated last year that we'd hire a third person, a member of our team. That has not happened until this point. We're currently in the process of making that hire. And so we have continued the budget looking to FY25 for that person with an additional part-time administrative person as well, if that is necessary. We haven't made a decision on that, but wanted to make sure that we had budget to carry that forward. So just a moderate decrease in that budget line, but anticipating that we would have those additional positions fully staffed, fully funded for the year. Some minor adjustments in our travel expenses, primarily as we're looking towards the next phase with our development partners selected and the development agreement signed. We now turn our attention in our travel to being able to go out and promote more fully what this development looks like and the opportunities that are available for investment and for businesses relocating. And so we've added additional budget to our out-of-state travel as we anticipate presenting at conferences and being able to share the updates about the project and help broadcast what available opportunities we have. Some minor operational adjustments, again, with personnel on cell phones. And then looking through the other big areas of adjustments that we'll see here are on line 35 with our contractual services. So we made some adjustments on just where the budget hits on this line versus our professional and technical services. These are the big areas of our consultants. As you can see here, we made just some minor moves, and so you'll see a big budget decrease in line 35. That primarily is the moving our marketing or our communications consultant into a different budget line and budget line 37. But then also, as we've looked over that budget, we've been able to find some additional cost savings there. So both lines, we see a significant budget decrease there. We're retaining our legal fees just because as we move into this financing element of the development, we need to make sure that we have the proper guidance on that. And so you'll see that that's been maintained. We're currently under budget for this year, so we do feel confident that will be sufficient for us moving forward. The rest of these items really are just the operational pieces. We've moved some budget lines around moving into FY25 to better break out the budget and understand where the funding is being spent when it comes to subscriptions, online subscriptions, meaning our MailChimp, which is email distribution, and other platforms that we're leveraging to talk about the point publicly. We've broken those out to better reflect where the money's being spent. And so we've moved just some minor budgets around or minor amounts around to accommodate that. We've also, those are some approvals that the board has made over the last little bit in the current fiscal year as well. So that's just reflected here. With that, I probably just want to open up for any questions at this point.
Don, I'm sorry, I was conversing with Alan for just a moment. Did that complete your presentation?
Yes, happy to answer any questions.
Thanks so much. Any questions from the board on this proposed draft? And let me just tell the board, this will come back for final approval next month. But this is given to you today and Don's presentation to let you know where the budget is going with these adjustments that are being proposed that be made. So any questions on not a final, but on these proposed adjustments that will lead to a final? Not seeing any lights or any indication. We'll thank you very much for that, Don, and obviously we'll see you back on the agenda probably next month.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. With conclusion of that matter, it brings us to the end of the agenda. The board, the chair would entertain a final motion. Mayor Wilson? So moved to adjourn. Do I have a second? Senator? Second. Moved and seconded that we adjourn. Non-debatable motion. All in favor of that motion, say aye. 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 It's unanimous. We stand adjourned. Thank you all, and board members, thanks for you that hung in with us. We went over time, but a really important discussion today. Thanks.